Hello and welcome to the Futro Hidden Movie Gems podcast. I am your host, Ty Christensen. Abracadabra.
Dang it, that was my quote.
Or it's like, ah. Okay, and we've got Jordan Christensen.
What kind of knot was it? What kind of knot was it?
What was the knot? What's in the fetching knot? I'm crossover quoting right now. That's Seven meets Prestige. And we've got Cameron Mickle.
No one cares about the man in the box, the man who disappears.
Oh, I have another good quote, but I'm going to save it. And we've got Adam Thomas on the podcast as a guest.
Are you watching closely?
Yeah.
Nice. Today we are discussing The Prestige. This movie came out in
2006.
I feel like I should have came in with like organ music.
Dude, save that for Interstellar, man.
Oh, good point.
But there was plenty of that in this one too. Written and directed by Christopher Nolan, and also Jonathan Nolan, his brother, helped write it. It stars Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale.
I love that you keep bringing up his brother, Ty. You're like, that's me. That's me.
That's me. Yeah, I'd be the brother. Be like, I helped write it too. He needs credit. Because this movie has more twists than a pretzel. It's crazy. It's crazy. It stars Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Piper Perabo, Rebecca Hall, Scarlett Johansson, David Bowie is in this? David Bowie was Tesla.
Yeah.
How did I not catch that? That was fetching David Bowie. I just learned this. Andy Serkis was in it. Daniel Davis was in it. Jim Piddock, Christopher Niam, Mark Ryan, Roger Rees. Niam. I don't know how to pronounce that name, so I just skirted by, but you called it out, so now everybody knows. And Jamie Harris. So, guys, this movie, holy cow. I'm just going to say it. What was it like watching it the first time you watched it? What was it like rewatching it for the podcast? I'll say, first, I watched this in theaters, and I don't know. I probably watched it as soon as it came out available to own, and I haven't seen it since. And I got to say, this is like watching The Greatest Showman if The Greatest Showman snorted crystal meth. Okay, this is a bleak, dark movie. Holy cow. So, loved it the first time. And I didn't catch half of the
but that's kind of all of Christopher Nolan's movies. He's kind of created this universe of like dark movies.
Dark movies. Half of them are dark because I also just watched Interstellar, which is a super wonderful. It gets bleak at a few moments.
It's a bit bleak still,
but it's super hopeful and it ends wonderfully.
I mean, he literally goes into a black hole. I don't think you can get more bleak than that.
But that's not even the saddest part. Anyway, okay, so we're talking about The Prestige here. So we're going to go into it. Like I said, saw it in the theater, loved it. I remember thinking, like, this is so great. Like, Christian Bale, I had already seen, I think I'd already seen Batman at this point. Batman Begins. Pretty sure it came out right before this or after this.
Batman Begins was first, yeah.
It was first.
Yeah, and the Prestige. Prestige was in between that and the Dark
So it was kind of cool to see Batman again because I was like, I loved the Batman Begins.
Like a lot of the same characters too.
Yeah, and and the rivalry between these two.
Yes.
Oh, so good. So I loved it the first time, and then I didn't catch half of
Wait,
the
I
things.
need to know, Ty, whose side were you on? Were you on Christian Bale's side or Hugh Jackman?
Well, that's what I want to say for
into?
the discussion.
Okay.
We're not, so as soon as we go into two of our favorite things, that's the
Jordan,
question I'm going to
easy,
pose
okay?
to you guys.
I'm just a little excited, I'm sorry.
But after I'd seen it again, it is much darker than I remember, and yeah, this is not at all an uplifting movie. This is really sad, really sad. There's like a sliver of hope at the end, but it's very much a sliver. So, Jordan, how about you? What was it like watching it the first time and rewatching it for the podcast?
Yeah, I remember seeing this in the theater, and then I loved it so much I took a friend to it, and I went back, and I'm like, can you guess the ending? And like I was so excited to hear his thoughts, and of course he couldn't guess it because it's such a crazy, mind-blowing twist.
Which ending? There's like 8 of them. There's like, here's the reveal, and you're like, oh my gosh. Oh, here's the reveal. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm sitting there. Christopher Nolan is doing magic tricks to me right in front of my face. He's like, hey, is this your card? This your card? This your card? And it's just like, ah.
Well, I mean, but that's what a magician does. He says like, come closer. I think that's what Adam said earlier. Is that's the point of a magician, is while you're looking closely, he's doing something else behind your back, you know, or handcuffing you to the table.
I just stole my freaking kidney.
And then rewatching it, I love like how amazing rewatching Christopher Nolan's movies are, because he not only treats us super smart, but he builds up and puts all these little Easter eggs throughout the film that essentially tell you what the ending is going to be. And I'm excited to dive into that stuff, but it made me grow to appreciate his work so much more, that his films, like, he just has such an appreciation for film. That's all I got to say.
He reveals every
Yes!
single movie. Every single one.
It's amazing.
He reveals it. And it should be so obvious now, especially on rewatch. But even then, I still forgot half of the twists, so that was really pleasant to watch again. So
Yeah.
awesome. How about you, Cameron? What was it like watching this movie for the first time and rewatching it for the
So I
podcast?
remember watching it the first time. I think I was like 14. I was watching it in a hotel by myself with you. You and Jordan, and I think Grant were like in the room.
So you weren't by yourself.
I watched it by myself. You freaking gosh. So I was watching it by myself.
All by myself.
And
With my
Poor
brothers
Cameron.
in the
can
room.
I get through how it was? Oh my gosh, you guys are AIDS. So, like how
Yeah, Jordan.
Cameron's like, I'm all alone, and also the camera pans, and we're just sitting there. We're right here, Cameron.
He's like, my brothers are nobody. That's okay, Cameron. We didn't watch it with you. I'm sorry. Why didn't we watch it
I
with
don't
you,
know.
man?
I think
feel
you
bad.
guys might have like watched it recently, or like think you guys were like, I've already seen it. So
We're like, it's super dark.
no, because I just remember I was watching it and I was like so confused the first time, like as a 14-year-old, not understanding like 90% of what's going on. And I just remember there was 14 minutes left and I paused it and I told Ty, I'm like, I don't get this movie, I don't want to watch anymore. And Ty's just like, just watch the last little bit, it'll explain it. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like the last 14 minutes literally just like blew my mind and like explained everything.
That's so funny. I vaguely remember that conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you have to finish
I know,
it.
and I was
It
like,
explains
I
it
don't
all.
understand anything that's going on. And then I've watched it 2 or 3 times since, and yeah, kind of like Jordan and Ty were mentioning, it's just fantastic. Well, first off, it has a freaking ridiculous cast. Like every single time I go back to Christopher Nolan's movies, I'm like, how the freak did he get this cast? Like it's ridiculous. I'm like, how do you have like 4 like A+ list actors just like all working different roles? Like this is unreal. And yeah, just kind of like they mentioned, it is very dark. The message is like there's a lot of things I picked up on, and you see how like insane it is, and it like reminds me of a lot of different films.
Love it. All right, Adam, how about you? What was it like watching this movie for the first time and rewatching it for this podcast?
Jeez, hearing that both of you watched it in theaters makes me actually really jealous. Because I mean, I love this movie, and so I wish I could have experienced it for the first time in theaters. The first time I watched it, I remember I was in high school, and like I had a couple friends tell me about it, and I wasn't always the best student, so I would just watch movies on my phone during classes. Like I had some classes that like kind of just busy work, and I remember this is one of the movies that I watched while I was in class, like just during high school, because there was nothing better to do. So I was watching it, and then I was like, I got so sucked in.
Just a waste of time.
Yeah, just a waste of time. You know, I watched a lot of movies senior year of high
My
school.
Yelp review for high school for general education, 1 out of 5 stars. Wouldn't do it again.
Yeah. I'm learning. I feel like I learned a lot more from some of these movies that I watched than I would have in the class. So it was productive.
Christopher
to say
Nolan's the
least.
true teacher.
Oh, absolutely. And then Scarlett Johansson's
Greatest trick
here,
he pulled.
like there's some hot babes, so like you got, I don't know. It's it was
Keep your attention there, yeah, for sure.
exactly. I watched it. Yeah, I watched it on my phone, and like I remember like because I was like at school, like I wasn't able to like get the full experience, but I remember like watching it and being like, wow, this is like a really intriguing movie. And I finished it, and then I think it was like 2 days later, I went and watched it again like at home by myself, because I was like, I need to like fully experience that. And then I freaking loved it. Still kind of like there's a lot of confusing parts to it, but it was amazing. And then I've probably seen it like 6 or 7 times since then, like in the past several years. I could probably watch it at least once a year. And then rewatching it for the podcast, I watched it with just like a few friends. I was very selective because like it's not a movie that I would want to watch with a bunch of people. And I made sure everyone knew. I'm like, shut up, don't talk during this movie, just watch it, because there's no point in watching it if everyone's gonna talk through it. And everyone was very good. It was a good group to watch it with. But there's just
Adam, you're invited in this inner circle. We infuriate people that watch movies with us. We're like, sit down, stop talking, put that phone away. Yeah, we're kind of...
there's some movies that I'm
Crazy
like
about that.
whatever, like, you know, Hot Rod, like it's a funny movie. I don't care what you do, like but
Yeah.
Prestige it's a different class.
Monster Hunter. Play it in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah, not a big deal.
So this one I was
But Prestige, man, you need to be lasered in.
Oh yeah, like they were about to invite a whole bunch of people, and I'm like, I'm all for like being inclusive, but for this, we are keeping it small and simple because I don't trust anyone else. So, But it was good, and like every time I watch it, I just notice more and more things about it, and I think it also kind of just fills in some of the holes because I get confused with like, okay, which brother's where, and like all these different things and how it all ties together, and like every single time I watch it, I notice more and more little things that Christopher Nolan does to just like tell you the story and tell you what's gonna happen, and you just miss it. You're blind to it, and so it was really good. I was frustrated because one of the people, my roommate's girlfriend, I guess fiance now. She got to the very last part. She'd watched the whole thing. In the last like 2 minutes, she had like went and took a phone call from her mom, and like she's leaving. And I'm like, Trish, if there's one part of this movie to watch, it's right now. Everything is coming together right now, please. But it was, I mean, so many new things to learn from it. I love this movie so much.
She dipped out right after he said, any last words for...
Basically, yeah, it was pretty much that.
For his character.
And I know my roommate is also a huge fan of that movie, so he was begging her the whole time. He's like, just wait 5 minutes, but she didn't listen, so she's dead to us now.
Excellent. All right, so let's get into it. 2 of our favorite things from this movie. Why don't we start with you, Cameron?
I think my favorite thing about, especially this movie and just like Christopher Nolan in general, is I think the thing that blows me away every time is just like how rewatchable his like big twist movies are. I never understand that. Like, it's usually most movies that have a big twist, like the first watch, you're like, whoa. Like, for me, that's how A Beautiful Mind was. Like, my mind was blown. But like the rewatch factor of A Beautiful Mind is like, it's good, it's still a great movie, but like it's not as like, oh my gosh, versus like Prestige, dude, watching it.
Did you know I've only seen that movie one time, Cameron, because I refuse to watch It's a Beautiful Mind again. I know we'll do it for the pod, but I same like you just said. I'm like, I don't think I could do that to myself.
And that's what just amazes me about like
punishing
a movie like this, because this movie hangs so much on the like the unknown and like the what's called the plot twists, that like watching it a second time, knowing in like third and fourth time, knowing everything that's gonna happen, I'm still like, I forgot that happens, like, oh my gosh. And you pay attention to more details, and you're like, it makes you appreciate it even more, because then you're like, oh, that's why he's acting weird, that's why she's saying you mean it today. I'm like, oh my gosh, he means today because it's him.
Yes.
Like, oh.
Well, he doesn't rely on the plot twist being like the only weight of the film.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like too many movies do that, and
that's what it's just
they're not
ridiculous,
rewatchable,
because then
but
I'm
this
like,
is.
I enjoy it more, because then I'm like wanting to watch it a second
Yeah.
time. It's one of those movies, as soon as you finish it
like
the first
Murder
time,
on the
you're
Orient Express versus like Knives Out, right?
Yeah.
Because again, you know the quote unquote twist, but the excitement happens after the twist.
pick up on the
It's all about
details,
how are you going to get it exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly.
yeah, just that's definitely
I love that.
the most interesting part for me. And then my second one is, this was one of the movies, like one of the first movies that actually got me to really like Hugh Jackman, because I used to not really, I mean, I thought he was good as Wolverine, but after watching this, Prisoners, and Logan, I was like, holy cow, this man can act.
Was there any doubt,
Yeah,
man?
I was like, geez Louise. So yeah.
And Les Mis, to be fair, his performance in Les Mis
I'm
is
not
good.
a musical guy. But as much as I want to see
It's
Russell Crowe sing.
Oh, yeah, you like Russell Crowe better, yeah. You're like, he really carried that movie.
So, yeah, just seeing Hugh Jackman's performance, and then obviously Christian Bale is fantastic in this movie. Just, I don't know, their performances just make it all.
For sure. Love it. How about you, Adam? What are your 2 favorite things from this movie?
I think like one of them is kind of like what like Jordan's kind of question that I'm sure we'll dive into like later, but like the whole fact that like you can like there's no like one good character. They're kind of both like bad almost. It's like me and my roommate were talking about it. Like that's why we love like the
Psychotic.
Italian Job too. Like because like you got like 2 kind of
Yes.
evils against each other, and it's
yes.
like so that's something I really like about this movie, because like you're kind of going back and forth between like hating people and then like loving them at the same time and like understanding them. And then
You hear
I
their
don't know,
background, and you're like, what?
I know, you're
I
like-
sympathize with this person, and you're like, wait, but this person's evil. Oh, fudge.
and like seeing like the like because at the end it talks about like the sacrifices, and like seeing how like both of them had to make sacrifices and stuff like that. It's like, whoa, okay, like you just get both perspectives. You kind of like get a little bit of sympathy for both.
Makes you appreciate your fingers a little more.
A little bit.
Oh, my God.
I still have questions about the timeline of when the fingers were cut off, but like there's I don't know. That was something I'm still debating. I think I just love like the emotional attachment that you get to like the story, and like how I guess watching it now, I was realizing that like some movies it's very easy to tell where the movie's going, but this one, since it jumps back and forth, you're kind of like left like, what's like the point, like where is this leading to? But even not knowing that, it's still like you're still super intrigued, and like it's a movie that you can't like look away from. Like it's just kind of you're along for the ride without a destination in mind, and then by the end of it you're like, oh my gosh. So I would say like those are like two of my like favorite things. Just like
I love that you compared it to that, because this whole movie is like a giant magic trick, right? Because you don't know where it's leading. And it's kind of like when someone performs a trick for you, you're like, what's going to be magical about this, right? Because you can make anything disappear, but it's about bringing it back, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. So bringing back a character which you thought wasn't there.
Oh my gosh,
Good. It's good.
Because they only believe in science, Ty.
You only believe in science.
This is not magic. This is the real thing, man. So, Jordan, how about you? Two of your favorite things.
So I guess on a rewatch, I love this time noticing that Christopher Nolan was literally laying out what is going to happen at the end. Like he says, talking about killing the little bird and stuff, and you have to bring it back. Like he literally just said what Hugh Jackman is going to do at the end is just killing himself. And he shows you literally the opening act. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then he reveals how Christian Bale is doing his trick. Because Christian Bale even leans over to Hugh Jackman and tells him how he's doing it. It's like he's pretending to be a cripple. That's like him pretending that he doesn't have a twin brother.
That's the real magic trick. The performance.
Yes.
The performance, yes. And that's how he knew.
Yes, that's how he knew too, is because he was doing it.
He's been doing it this whole time. He's like, that's how he did it. Yeah. He knows other people that are so committed. And Hugh Jackman's like, I'll change my name, but I'm not a freak like Christian Bale's character. I'm not going to live my life. Like, I'll change my name and pretend to be a magician, and not embarrass my family or whatever, pursuing, a life of magicianry. But
then he turns absolutely insane by killing himself. Like, I was like, why not just duplicate yourself once and then have that guy hide up in the rafters? Like,
well, you think that's the only crazy thing that he did? Dude, I actually have a few nitpicks with this movie, and it's going to go into that whole plot.
Okay.
So
we'll get into that.
But did you say your two favorite? Was that your second?
Yeah, and then going along exactly with what Adam was saying, I think it's very ambiguous of who you're rooting for, and that's a lot of Christopher Nolan movies. I love he likes to stay in the gray area of people that you're like, oh my gosh,
dude.
like this is a horrible human being, but. And
there is an amazing noble lie in this one.
Oh, geez, here we go again.
I'll point it out. There's a good lie in this one, though. It hinges. We'll get into that.
Is it good though, or which lie are we talking about? All of their everything secrets and lies.
His entire relationship with his wife.
Oh my god,
it's horrible.
No,
it's horrible.
They both lived a happy, half full life.
No,
dude, wouldn't do it. It's crazy.
Well, and her
bonkers.
leaving him, like, she's like, I'm leaving, like, we'll get into Scarlett Johansson. I get that nitpick with, like, her leaving him. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so my two favorite things. Yes, I love the rivalry. That is what fuels this movie. And what's weird is I actually, to be honest, I don't even remember it being so much of a rivalry movie. I really didn't. Like, this has got more one-upsmanship than, like, Count of Monte Cristo. I mean, that's obviously, like, a one thing, but this one's, like, so even, neck and neck. I'm like, could these two men be better suited to like get at each other? Like it's insane.
It's pretty black and white.
True. Yeah,
like
you like how the good guy and the bad guy. Yeah. Screw Guy Pearce. He's the worst, right? You want what's that actor's name? I can't remember his name.
Jim Caviezel.
Yeah, you want his character obviously to win and get his revenge. But yeah, this one.
Edmond Dantes.
Yeah.
Dantes is dead.
So yeah, I like that you guys said that. It blurs the line, between good and evil, and it's that rivalry. But yeah, this is fundamentally a rivalry movie, and it's really good. And I'm surprised, like, at such a young age, I liked it, and even though it was so messed up and dark, there's, like, a lot of crazier, deeper, scarier implications about this movie than I even cared to let on when I was 13 or 14 when I first saw it. But like I said, I think this movie is really great, and I really enjoyed rewatching it, even though it's super dark.
Dude, rewatching this after watching Rick and Morty gives me a whole nother perspective too, dude.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy sci-fi movies, which is really interesting because this asks so many questions while being really satisfying. It still poses a lot of questions that I have. So, and just lastly, yeah, I would say the performances. Like, no one in this movie was a weak hand. Like, Michael Caine's performance was stellar. He was so cool.
He has to be in every Christopher Nolan movie.
Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, they were so they're so charismatic. It's incredible. And even though Christian Bale, they refer to Christian Bale's character not being as good of a showman, it was just like he was just so desperate and likable. Their performances were so good. So those are my two favorite things. Just everyone's pulling their weight. So no weak ankles there. Even David Bowie for the win, dude. I did not know that was David Bowie. It's so weird to think that, because I guess I would have seen him, with more eye makeup or something, with more feathers, a little more pizzazz, but than I'm used to seeing him. I can't believe he pulled that. He pulled a trick over my eyes. I never saw that was David Bowie. Oh, that's the greatest magician trick of all. To hide David Bowie in plain sight for me. That's crazy. Well, let's get into so nitpicks and things that we want to address. First, Adam, you brought up a question about the fingers. So Christopher Nolan motif, this movie is not linear. It jumps all over the place, which is kind of fun because after Batman, that was a total linear movie. And Jordan, me and you hadn't seen Memento or any of his other earlier films.
Well, linear,
correct?
he still had flashbacks, though. You mean it just...
And Batman Begins? Yeah, I guess he did, but it was all kind of one, well...
It was pretty linear.
Pretty linear, yeah, because there was it's child, adult. You're right. There were more flashbacks. This one's here's the end of the movie, and then you watch it again twice, and it means something else by the time you get there, right? It's crazy, because you don't know what's going on, and then he starts later on the show where they're partners, and then it goes forward in time where after he's been imprisoned. It's so crazy. The story's all over the place, but you can follow it. You can really follow it. It's incredible. So you asked about the fingers, right? When did he?
Yeah.
So I understood it that is when he fired the pistol at him, right? He tried to do the pistol catch.
Yeah, so he lost it there.
So he lost his fingers there.
My question was, because I noticed it watching it this time, because then at the very end it flashes back to when he's talking about, he's explaining to Hugh Jackman, and when, Hugh Jackman's, been shot, and it shows a flashback to his wife, and it's how can it be bleeding like this again? It was the day it happened. And so, obviously, he had to cut off his brother's fingers, which that would be a horrible thing to have happen. A lot of dedication.
Just bite on the wood, Adam. It takes away all the pain.
Just
easy, bite on the wood stick. You're gonna be fine.
But
it'll be really quick. I'm just gonna use this mallet and this freaking carpenter. What is that? Like a screwdriver?
I'm sure it'll go through on the first swing. He probably had to take 10 swings to get through.
I don't know. Maybe he did it hard.
It's the 1800s. I don't know if that mallet or if the chisel was even sharp. It was probably just
looked like a dull wooden.
Yeah, and how did he not die from yes, jeez, back then.
Infection? Oh, my word.
But one thing I noticed was, Scarlett Johansson in it, when she goes to work for him, she says something about, she's like, you hide this, I had to look really closely, but, you use padded gloves to, hide it, and, you need to show this off. And it made me think, I wonder if he was using padded gloves for one of them, but then having his actual fingers, and that's when he was okay, she's right, I need to, so he might have waited a little bit before he cut off his fingers.
Yes, he did. In fact, because they were convinced it was a double, right? They knew it had to be a double because there was no way he could get over there that fast, right? The magic trick is where it's a transporting man where he's in one box, he disappears, and he's there to catch the ball on the other side of the stage. No one could transport themselves that quickly. So you're right. They noticed the trick the first time, and they said, you obviously have the double because the guy's using the padded fingers. And she's saying, if it really is you, because, again, Hugh Jackman would not let it go. He goes, it's not a double. It's really him. He knows it's him. But you're right. Scarlett Johansson noticed it. So I guess to create that illusion, he was willing to chop his brother's fingers off. For the illusion, because he already wasn't able to convince the other magicians. It's
I think that's okay. The day as the twin brother that I'm I don't know how committed to this career I am.
I'm back
Yeah,
up.
I'm I'll just pretend. I'll just tuck him away. He won't notice.
I might become a banker or something.
Is it a twin brother or is it a clone? Did we already know that?
I always understood it was just a twin brother.
I thought it was twin.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought there was never any mention to a clone, but obviously in this universe, it's clearly possible.
Yeah.
I've always thought he was a clone.
Yeah, it is possible.
Okay.
Yes, and you would think that Christian Bale was using it the right way, where he's a partner with himself, and you're oh, you could do good magic. And Hugh Jackman's first reaction is, if I clone myself, I'm going to have to murder him.
Yeah.
I know, just straight to the murder.
Okay.
My question is,
Straight to the murder.
what magic camp did these guys go to as kids that made them just so gun-ho about... they're like willing to shoot themselves and chop off each other's fingers. Like, that must have been some camp that they went to when they were like 12 years old. I don't know.
Dude, that scene when he shoots him in the freaking hand, it gets me every time. When you just see,
Oh
when you
my
see it's
gosh.
Hugh Jackman, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, and he's got this
no,
crazy
no,
look in
no,
his
no.
eyes, dude. Hugh Jackman's got a creepy look in his face.
Yeah, he's like,
man.
What knot did you tie? I don't know. Liar. Crazy. And then like Christian Bale's reaction was priceless. He's like
Yes.
silent for a minute, and then he looks down, his hands bleeding. Gah!
Or the
So
look that
freaky.
Christian Bale gives him when he's holding on that bird cage, and he's like, "Eeks."
Oh yeah.
So real quick, I understand the obsession. So I have a nitpick right off the bat, and it's gonna ruin the entire movie. So I'm only gonna bring it up once. He has a machine that can endlessly duplicate whatever you put inside it. Spend your entire life's fortune buying a bunch of lumps of gold, put it in this stupid machine, and then you can live a rich mofo for the rest of your life. You don't have to do all this psychotic magic bullshit and murder yourself. Just duplicate gold for the rest of your life.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money. I know. See, I know. I'm just saying, you could also solve world hunger. You could duplicate entire feasts for people. You could do anything with that technology. Thank you, Tesla. You saved the world, and it was used for cheap magic tricks. Like, not even cheap, murderous magic.
Well, I'd never thought of what Jordan
Just
brought
saying.
up about like cloning it once and then just having him like stay around. Like that would have been so much easier than shooting himself or drowning every night.
And hoping that you're not the one in the freaking box.
After he duplicated himself one time. In fact, I'm pretty sure the first clone was like, wait, I'm really the one, and we're gonna work together and we can do magic because no one will know that I'm a clone. There's two of us now. We can literally do the. And he's like, no, just
It
shoots
reminds
him.
me of Invincible when he's like, if you're the real clone or the original, you would know that. And I'm like, oh man, it was just like, that's got to be such a weird thing, dude, having someone
Like,
who's
clone.
literally a clone of you.
Okay, and another nitpick. So, first Hugh Jackman stands in the machine and duplicates him for the first time. He keeps a pistol by the side of the machine. He duplicates himself and he transports himself over there, and then he grabs the pistol and shoots the first time that he's ever cloned himself. So we're to understand that that guy was a clone. If we're to understand that it doesn't teleport, right? Unless it creates the duplicate clone there and it sends the real one elsewhere. But I would assume that the clones are the ones sent elsewhere. What do you guys think? Do you want to use that as the assumption?
Doesn't it switch?
Do you think it switches? I don't think it does. I think you stand there and then it clones whatever, and then your clone appears like 10 feet away, right? Or whatever.
Doesn't he say at the end, he's like, you don't know like how like the sacrifice of not knowing whether you're going to be the one going into the box or the one coming out of it? Like, is that...
Right. Again, but see, what's so weird about that is he puts the gun next to the device. So if we're to understand that, here's the thing where I don't believe this, because if he's willing to, if he's the one that shot the guy that was teleported to the other side, why would he be willing to stand there and fall through the floor and drown knowing that he didn't move anywhere?
Well,
Does that make
that's why
sense?
he just said he might be the one zapped over there, or he might be the one in the electric
doesn't
thing.
know.
So
He
you think
didn't
it's
know.
possible? I would assume that it's the same.
I think because it's not
I get
exactly
what
an
you're
exact
saying.
science. It's just like creating a clone.
Do you
of
think
you.
it jumps or it changes? Do you think that? I don't think that. I think it's the same every
Really,
time.
if I were to guess, I would say like it goes into a random place, like, and you don't know if you're gonna be the one that stays or.
Well,
goes
what I
into,
think
like-
it is, I think it's quote unquote the same, but it's like his whole conscience goes to both, and so it's literally the same person. So, but he just doesn't know because his conscience is.
It's fair, yeah. I get what you're saying, but you are a complete duplicate. But my point is, he appeared to not have moved anywhere and shot the first person that was transported. So let's assume that it
But
stays
Ty,
the same,
imagine your
right?
consciousness goes into that body. Essentially, you would be that person too. Does that make sense?
That's totally fair, but I get shot right away, right? By
Yourself.
either myself or the clone. And then it reverses because now it's the person that's teleported that survives and the guy that's standing there. Let's assume it's the same every single time you use it, right? Like, I have no reason
But
to believe
that's the
that it
thing
would
is
work.
you wouldn't know
it teleports you
where
sometimes,
your
it doesn't.
consciousness would go. Like you would like quote unquote the clone.
Right, but let's assume that if I stand there first, I'm going to be the one falling through the floor. That's all I'm saying.
Your mind, I mean your body, but not your mind.
Interesting. So that's interesting. That's a fair point, right? Like you're saying. But anyway, what I think is interesting, the first one, he's the one in the machine and he ends up killing him. And then later in the magic show, He's the one falling through the floor, the guy that's in the machine, and then there's a duplicate that survives, which is interesting because, again, that's reversal. And so what I think is happening is his copies are being the ones that are sent further away, even though they're identical copies. And now he's cloning a clone and cloning a clone, and he's like, I think he's losing his humanity in a way. Obviously, killing yourself, it's kind of like a Horcrux or something. You're splitting your soul.
Voldemort.
I don't know. I just think it's interesting because the very first one, he's the one standing near the machine and kills the guy that's been teleported. And after that, the guy that's been teleported survives every night, and the guy that's standing in the machine drops through the floor and drowns. I think it's really messed up to think, like, I could never be brave enough to try it because he already killed the first time his clone appeared away from him. Why would you ever be willing to drop yourself through the floor and drown? You know it's there. He knew he was going to set it up this way because he hired a bunch of blind men to help him move these tanks every night. Super disturbing. All these wide-eyed blind people that do this dirty work for him and don't know that they're transporting dead men in these fish tanks.
So my only nitpick is with Scarlett Johansson, like, I'm a little confused as to, like, she's like, I would have stayed with you if your wife had lived and we could have kept cheating on each other. But now that we can't cheat together, I'm leaving you. Like, what?
Well, yeah, she was like, you know, you could, well, because he was so heartless. It wasn't even like he was broken up at all. And she's like, you could be saying this to another person in a diner.
I know,
right, but because he's like, could you imagine talking to the person? He's like, I don't even care that my wife's dead. I never really loved her.
Yeah, because he was in love with her now.
Okay, psycho. Well, I know, but see, but that's the thing. Yes, because it was the other character. See, because he didn't care about that. It wasn't even his wife, quote unquote, that died. It was
well,
his
I know that,
brother's
but
wife.
her just leaving because I don't know. I just thought it was kind of. I get it, but I also think it's.
In the end, both of the women, yeah, either left or killed themselves, which I thought was crazy that the wife killed herself. I mean, I guess if you drink
Well,
enough,
I get it because he only half of them loved her, and it was the other person.
Drove her completely mad to kill herself. It's crazy to me. But again, I mean, I guess a divorce is just simpler. I mean, you have a kid, live for the kid
Yeah,
at least. Take the kid and go. You don't need to kill yourself.
Love makes you do crazy things.
That's just me.
I mean,
but anyway.
she isn't magic. She doesn't have exactly make the best life decisions. She's in the magic business, so.
Hey, that guy was doing pretty well for himself, right?
Christian Bale, not so much, but Hugh Jackman, I think, was making a lot more money.
They bought a nice little apartment, though. She said she liked it. I liked it. Maybe she didn't like it that much. She's a good liar. Okay.
Maybe it's a meta thing, Ty. He's like telling his wife, "You'll never leave me." Christopher Nolan's wife. You can't live without me.
I just have one more nitpick. Something that's always kind of confused me about it is, so he goes to Colorado and he's reading Christian Bale's journal, and then it's like he's in Colorado for like 3 months, and then he reads like the end of it that says like where Christian Bale's like, I tricked you, like have fun in your American home, and it's like, and like I can understand that maybe it took him a long time to decipher the code of the journal, but I feel like he wouldn't have just jumped on maybe he would have, but like I always like am like, okay, that's not a very thick journal. Like it's like maybe 50 pages, 100 pages. Like I feel like you would have just at least like skimmed through the back of it. You wouldn't have just looked at the first page and been like, all right, let's go to Colorado now. Like especially with all the trust issues that he's given you. Like he's you know, like you're magicians. Like of course you're gonna deceive each other. So I was like, I feel like he would have been smarter than that. But maybe I'm wrong. It's just been something I've always questioned. Like that wasn't the best decision you've ever made, and it didn't seem super realistic to me. But I don't know. It is a movie about magic, so who knows?
Right. I love that nitpick because yeah, you're like skip to the end. That's where the trick is, right?
At least read the last page.
And it's like, yeah, you start at the beginning, look at the end, look at the prestige. Don't wait for the pledge. Don't wait for this whatever the second part was called, right? What was it called? The pledge. What are the 3 stages? Does anyone remember? The pledge is the first one.
The turn, and the prestige.
The turn and the prestige. That's right. Yeah. I thought they used P in the turn, but no, not good alliteration there. Could have been triple P. You could have used, I don't know, what's a good P word for turn? Positioning, I don't know. Anyway, so I didn't write the movie, apparently. Christopher Nolan and his brother did. So real quick, whose side are you guys on? I take the side of Hugh Jackman, to be honest.
Whatever, Ty. You do not.
Christian, dude, all the way.
No, you're just trying to be different.
I do.
Because
are you serious?
Nobody's on Hugh Jackman's side. He's a psycho.
You really don't think so? Okay, well, in my defense, I'll lay my defense.
Yeah, I want to hear your defense.
Okay, well, at the very beginning, this guy is a totally normal guy. He's not that devoted to magic. He's not that crazy. In fact, he's always telling Christian Bale, please tie the right knot. Listen, Michael Caine knows better than you. Christian Bale murders his wife and then has the decency to show up at the funeral and be like, I don't know what knot I tied. It's like, you killed my wife. Like, how am I ever going to live this down? So, to be fair, he was wronged first, is my point. And he was driven to madness by the murder of his wife.
Is that going to give him closure? No, he just wants a reason to blame Christian Bale for it.
So like you said, I think it's interesting that you guys are so willing to forgive Christian Bale. He killed her doing a magic trick. Why did the knots matter?
Yeah, not on
Why
purpose.
did the knots matter?
Ty, you act like it wasn't on purpose. It was an accident.
Yeah, I think like he like tried to like.
No. Christian Bale pushed the envelope first. That's where I get off. I'm like, you know what? If someone killed my wife, I get free revenge credit in movie world, not in real life, but in movies, he gets free reign to kill. Now, he does some despicable things.
But then you're not on I Saw the Devil guy's side. Wow, Ty. Wow.
Yeah, pick and choose.
Wait, what happens first?
Yeah, pick and choose who you give the free reigns to, huh?
Oh, well, no. See, I was on the cop's side, but see, how long does it go? Because he had a chance to get his revenge.
How long
He
does
got
it
the
go for Hugh Jackman
credit,
until you're
and then
murdering yourself millions of times?
Yeah, Ty.
It's true. It does get really tragic, but at the end, I can't help but feel bad for Hugh Jackman, even though, like, he does. So let's name all the despicable things that Christian Bale did, right? Christian Bale shows up.
Accidentally killed his wife. Accidentally.
No, he intentionally tied the different knot that he wasn't supposed to.
didn't mean to kill her.
He didn't mean to kill her,
Yeah.
though, goofball.
I don't know. I just don't like the whole knot thing because it's like
There's
it's such
no motive to kill her. What was his motive to kill his wife?
He was pushing the magic, right? He just wanted to do magic so badly.
She
right?
wanted to, too. She said, let's do it.
She said, let's do it.
We've been practicing.
They did a risky trick. It'd be like doing a risky BMX trick or something, like X Games. It's not
She
like
did say, let's do it, and then they shut it down.
it's not like he whipped out a gun and murdered her. She's like, I want to do the trick, and he said, let's do it, and with behind his back.
And it's just the knot. It's not like anyone in the stage knows the difference between knots. Maybe they do, but it's so infuriating to me because he's like, tie the right knot because she can slip out of it, and he tied the wrong knot, and he looks at her, and you're right, she gives him that like almost nod, a smile.
Exactly. She was happy about it. So
While on stage saying like, do the other knot, but I'm just saying.
she died doing what she loved, Ty. Hugh Jackman was the only one that didn't love it.
Okay, so here's the double lie. She drowned, right? So what does Michael Caine say to Hugh Jackman? She says, a sailor once told me that he had drowned and we brought him back and that drowning was like going home. He said that to comfort Hugh Jackman, okay? At the end of the movie, when he knows what Hugh Jackman's doing by drowning himself, he goes, I lied. The sailor that drowned and we brought him back, he said it was agony. It was agony. And he tells him straight outright, like, that's the noble lie, but he ends up telling him the truth because he's like, you got to stop this. Like, and it's so
You're
good
torturing
to,
yourself.
You're torturing
Ty,
yourself.
wait, you're torturing he's torturing himself and you're still on his side. Interesting.
Well, see, it's very tragic. I'm not saying like I agree with everything he did. I'm just saying like,
but
whose
they're
side?
not real people. They're just clones.
Yes. Well, at least after the first one, I think he shot the clone the first time, and then after that, he's been copying himself, and then that copy that's been put over there comes down in the machine, copies himself. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. If you ever do that in your printer and you print something
I would
many,
probably
many
be
times,
fine with killing off all the clones in Clone Wars. It's like, yeah, they're just clones.
it's just clones. They don't feel anything. Oh my gosh. All right. So, any other nitpicks you guys wanted to throw out there, or things that you thought? I can't think of too many others other than the fact that
I don't know. I feel like the only thing I have like a slight nitpick with is like I understand that they're super committed, like they cut off each other's fingers, but like I don't know. I know it's maybe possible, but that's got to be like 99.9% chance of you slipping up at least once or twice with his wife. Like,
oh yeah,
you're with her every single day, and like there's got to be at least one or two times where you just like accidentally say the wrong thing or say something where she's like, that was really weird, or like you get a cut on your face and like you didn't have it, and then you, like it comes back. Like there's got to be something that she's like, that was kind of weird. Like there had to have been one or two moments of like suspicion.
Here's another nitpick and thing I dislike about Christian Bale. It's like, why couldn't you just tell your wife and Scarlett Johansson? You could let two people in on the secret, just two, because I guarantee you that Chinese man that had the guards walking him to his house, maybe they were in on it, maybe they weren't.
As soon as he got into the house.
As soon as he got in that carriage, he's like, yeah, boys, yeah.
Good show
He
tonight,
turns
boys,
into
yeah.
King Jong. He turns into King Jong from freaking Hangover. He's like, motherfucker. Turns into freaking, what does he say? I can't remember what his lines. So long, gay boy. He's in his carriage and he's like, I'm home free.
Toodaloo, mother effer.
Yeah, that was one nitpick. I'm like, just let your wife and Scarlett Johansson in on the secret. It's not like they're going to tell anyone. They understand you're committed to the craft, and you could live at least a truthful life. So again, see, here's my case why I like Hugh Jackman. Look at all the evil things that Christian Bale did. He snapped that bird cage and squished that the lady's fingers in that cage. She was screaming and blood's everywhere. That freaked me out. That was really messed up. And then what else did he do? He ended up being the reason that Hugh Jackman's wife was dead, and then he ended up driving his wife to suicide.
Yeah, and Hugh Jackman freaking shot him and got him hanged.
And he ended up driving his wife to suicide. So I'm just saying, Christian Bale. And yes, it was very scary when Hugh Jackman comes to the prison and is like, "I'm going to be watching after your daughter now."
What
Yes,
the serial
he went too
killer?
far.
My F, dude.
But-
when you come in with your daughter,
very
don't worry, I'll
disturbing.
take good care of her. I was like,
I'll
what
take
the
good care of
fuck?
it. Yeah. That's such a good revenge movie, though. Like that's a good
Sicko.
like I'm taking your
You
kid.
kidding me?
Yeah, I'll
He's
take
like-
care
That's what
of her.
Michael
I'll take
Caine's
care
like,
of
I'm
your kid.
out. I can't do this with
Yeah,
you anymore.
that's the Count of Monte Cristo moment when Hugh Jackman's like, well, I don't need revenge anymore. After he's gonna kill him or his brother, after he ruined his career, shot him in the finger, and had his wife leave him. It's like, what else? Can you
And
take?
got him hanged.
Yeah,
How does,
and got him
hang himself?
Yeah,
hang
made
himself?
him hang himself, and then also freaking is gonna take care of his daughter, freaking and right to his face, dude, freaking psycho.
I think that's something that you mentioned, Ty, that I kind of didn't really realize is I think it's true with the whole after you clone yourself and kill yourself so many times, I think his moral fabric just slowly started fading away because I kind of switch. I start with Hugh Jackman. I'm like, okay, Hugh Jackman's got more of a reason. But then halfway through the movie, I feel like I switched to, I'm like, all right, this is going too far. Christian Bale's kind of calmed down. But I feel like by the end, Hugh Jackman's just kind of losing himself, and so he's like, I don't care about anyone, not even
He
this
gets
little
lost
girl's
in the
life.
magic.
Let me just ruin it.
And not even his own wife. He's like, I don't care about her anymore.
I care about his secret.
Yeah, to be fair, he's like, I don't care about her. I care about my secret. But he also, but Christian Bale also was willing to let his wife kill herself, and then also,
Yeah,
the
that was
saddest
sad.
moment is when the brother's in the prison and he's telling his twin that's disguised, right? He's like, I'm sorry about the wife, because he was. I got the impression
the
that
one
it
in the
was
jail-
the actual father of the
Yeah.
daughter. It was the actual father of the daughter at the end who survives, because the one in jail made it. He's like, I'm sorry about the wife, and I'm sorry about that. He was apologizing because he was the one that actually caused a lot of those problems, because his wife only drove him to that because every time he was with her, he couldn't put on a performance like he was her. But again, it's
That's gotta
dude,
be
this,
so
this
hard. Yeah, imagine-
Christian Bale. It's super gross to think he's two-timing his wife with the brother. It's I don't know. That's just really unlikable, Christian Bale. That's why I have a hard time with that. But at the end, it's at the emotional crux of the
Two-timing with your
kid.
twin is a little bit more respectable than murdering yourself millions of times and ruining
But
a
is
human
it though?
being's life.
It's just but it was only hurting Hugh Jackman's self. It wasn't two-timing your wife. You
He
think
shot
two-timing is
Christian.
okay?
He literally shot Christian Bale in the hand, and then had his wife leave him, and then also what's it called? What was the last thing?
Trying to throw a pity party for Christian Bale.
And then Christian Bale literally had to die. He literally killed one of Christian Bale's.
He also sent,
Well, yeah, and he also
Scarlett
shot
Johansson away.
Hugh Jackman at the end. He shot him at the end. That was really mean.
Ty, he even sent Scarlett Johansson, his quote unquote love, to go steal a secret, pretty much used her.
Yeah, that was really sad because, he was like, just go do the secret. And then Scarlett Johansson's like, I ended up falling for him, And it's
I think that's where I decided Hugh Jackman wasn't the good guy anymore. Didn't, because once he sent away Scarlett Johansson, I'm like, all right, whoa. Why are we doing that now? And I think that's when I'm like, okay.
who turns away Scarlett Johansson? Yeah,
Yeah, no.
exactly.
He's so committed, dude. He's past the point of no return.
So committed, dude. Yeah, dude. Magic before or whatever.
For real.
That's a saying somewhere. Magic camp. My magic buddies before babes. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So yeah, any let's get into quotes real quick. Do you guys have any quotes from this movie?
I love though when he said never show anyone on when he's talking to the kid. He's like, they'll beg you and they'll flatter you for the secret, but as soon as you give it up, you'll be nothing to them.
Yeah,
and I think that's super
that was
interesting.
great.
Is because it's the moment you tell somebody a trick or how you did something, as soon as it's they're like, oh well, that's not that impressive.
It's useless.
Yeah.
You're like, you thought it was the most impressive thing and you couldn't figure it out for the life of you, and then as soon as I told you, oh, that's not that impressive.
It's just like riddles. I want to know the answer so bad, and then when I learn, I'm like, oh, that's a dumb riddle.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's stupid. Why did I want the answer so bad? It's really stupid. What can you put into a barrel that will make it lighter?
A hole.
A hole. See, it's not good because you're like helium, balloons. What can you put into it? Air.
Can
Real
on
quick,
that
I
one?
had a quote. Oh yeah, go ahead, Adam. You didn't like my riddle?
No more
On that
riddle
one, I have
side,
a problem.
please.
It's problematic.
That same moment with that kid with Sarah's nephew. It's not like necessarily a quote, but it's one of my favorite moments of the movie. It's like as far as foreshadowing when he kills the bird, and the
Where's
kid's
his
crying, and he's
brother?
like, no, like look, it's right here, and the kid's like, but what about its brother? That's the one that hits me every time.
Yes.
I'm like, he's literally just painting a picture in our face, and so that's not necessarily like a quote, but it's like a lot. It made me think of that. It's like my favorite moment of the movie.
Yeah, when
'cause,
he
like,
says that,
how
and
more
you're like-
obvious can it
And
be?
then I love it because he comes up to him. He's like, "Your kid's pretty quick."
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's like you have a smart kid, which is interesting because he doesn't even like try to lie to the kid. You're like, man, I don't know. This takes place in like the 1800s or something like that. This movie's effing bleak. Like, guys, another nitpick. The people in the crowd are like manic. They're like, do the magic trick, do the bullet catch, you freaking. Yeah. They're like telling him. They're like, it's like, is everyone so starved?
Yeah, and when
for
he gets shot,
entertainment around
some
here?
people are like clapping. They're like, yeah.
No, dude,
Yeah, when he gets shot, they're all like,
Did you know,
some real
like,
entertainment, man.
Like, during Shakespeare's time, dude, the reason they say break a leg is because like the poor people would be in the front and they would literally be so amused by the play that they would drool to make the floor wet. To where like sometimes actors, if they were doing really good, like the people would drool a lot and they would slip and break a leg. So it meant you were doing good because the people in the front were literally drooling.
What the
Yeah.
am I hearing?
It's literally
What are you
when I heard
talking
that, I was
about?
like, are these humans we're talking about? Like human beings? Like literally people were.
I might need to fact check that one.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna
need to double check
that's
that one, Cameron.
Bonkers.
Go ahead, fact check.
Bunch of Greek people in togas. They're all just like
That-
just drooling
That's
all
like
over
the
the
only
stage.
thing I remember from
Break a
like,
leg.
from like junior year English, dude. When I heard that, I was like, "There's no way that human beings are that."
Oh, did your teacher
I
tell you,
think
or
your
was it a kid
teacher-
in the class? He's like,
My-
hey, Cameron, guess what?
Yes,
Yeah.
Jordan. It was my
Duh.
teacher, you Jew boy. Wasn't some random kid.
Oh, yeah,
who's
where
like,
did you go to school, Cameron? Where did you go to school, Cameron? That's what we gotta ask. Where on earth did you go to school? I never learned that fact, but that's crazy if that's true. So, one great scene though, it reminded me a lot of Batman. Was watching Hugh Jackman set up shop with Michael Caine. He's like, I'll wash up the windows, and they're like looking up for a place to set up shop. I just love that because it makes me think of the Batcave when Christian Bale's character goes with Michael Caine to set up shop for the Batcave. That's what it made me think of. I was like, oh, it's that scene. It exists.
Well,
It's
I
so
always
good.
get chills when the guy tells him, like, he gives him the machine and then says, I deplore you to just get rid of this and destroy it. And
Yeah. Even which is interesting because he could have seen the good it could do, but he's like, this is going to ultimately be a bad thing, which I think is interesting because I guess.
no, people
Great
with that
power
much
comes
power
great
Ty, I
responsibility.
just feel like they wouldn't
Right.
use it for good. I don't know.
So
Right.
David Bowie is the real hero of the movie.
Yeah.
For real.
Well, except he's not. He left the machine. He left it up to him. He should have been like, I'm going to destroy
Yeah,
this,
he should
but
have.
He doesn't. Should have destroyed it.
But who knows, dude? That maybe he would have come after him and fucking murdered him.
Okay, another scene. Scarlett Johansson comes in, and they're like, "Okay, you're gonna be a pretty show lady, and like climb into this cupboard, and when you get down into this little coffin area, breathe as little as possible," is what he tells her. And I'm like, does every magic trick nearly get them killed? Like every single magic.
all about
trick-
the sacrifice.
Yeah, it's all about sacrifice, right? But the bullet catching and the sabotage of the bullet. The catching, the crushing the bird in the fingers. It's like they try to sabotage each other's
Sab
magic
each
tricks.
other?
That was like the scariest part. They tried to stab each other.
Sab.
They tried to sabotage. They tried to sab one another, man. Sabotage each other's magic tricks. It's really disturbing. Christian Bale shows up. He's got makeup on, hair on, and then you got that Hugh Jackman showing up with a beard on, and they're both trying to kill each other right in front of all these people, right in front of their magic shows. And then there's the time where they has the drunk Hugh Jackman that they find the double for, and then he has him tied up, and he shows up at his magic show, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I crashed this show," Hey, Christian Bale removed the freaking matted thing, so Hugh Jackman falls through the floor and
his
breaks his
leg.
legs.
Ugh.
Like, that's pretty messed up, dude. And then he makes a mockery of him at his magic show.
That was amazing. That was so
That's
good.
a
Pretty
cardinal
genius.
sin, though. That's a cardinal sin. You don't mess with people's magic.
That's what they did the entire movie.
Yeah, Ty,
That's what
literally
they
he
did.
pulls out a
Movies
gun
that
in the middle of his other magic trick and shoots him in the hand. You don't mess with this magic trick, though.
He didn't pull out the gun. That was part of his
No, but he
trick.
slipped
ended up
something
putting
into
a real
penny.
bullet.
Yeah, he put-
Yeah.
Bullet in.
I was like, oh, it was all fun and games. It was part of the show. Yeah, I'm sure Christian Bale wanted a bullet shot into his hand.
I like the guy that runs the theater where he's like, hey, I'm not going to have a bunch of birds, slaughtered on my stage or whatever. And then he's like, no, we can do it safely, right? And then after that goes horribly wrong, her fingers are broken. He's like, we're not here to break fingers and murder birds. He's like, you're out. You're done. He's like, we have a weak contract. He's like, you're out. Get out. He's like, I hired a comedian. And I hate comedians. I love that line. And that was great. And then there was a great scene, too, where the officer, when Christian Bale's character was like tossing the ball and pretends to do a magic trick poorly. And then the officer's like, how did you ever get famous, huh? And he's like, oh, it's a magic trick, right? And then he backs up, and then he ends up cuffing the officer's leg or whatever. That was a great scene.
Great.
Love that scene. Yeah, he doesn't care about his wife, all he cares about is his secret, right? That was really disturbing. And you're right. I will say it's deplorable. I'm just saying, I was surprised to hear all of you on Christian Bale's side, because at the end, yes, he has gone too far. But are you guys always on Christian Bale's side? Because to me, I'm like, Hugh Jackman was wrong first, and there's somewhere along the way he's definitely lost his soul.
Well, Adam's already said.
I'm trying to figure out where that is.
He switched partway through.
Is that right? That's probably best.
I'm with
said.
Christian Bale all the way.
Christian Bale all the way.
Oh, the underdog, dude. Underdog story.
I am too. Hugh Jackman has this creepy look in his eye the whole movie.
He just wants it so bad.
He's got that prisoner's dad look in his eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty messed up to let Hugh Jackman let him.
They didn't scream when I took them.
Pretty messed up that Hugh Jackman allowed Christian Bale to go to prison. Like, he did that magic trick so he could imprison him. That was pretty messed up. Like, because that was all planned. He wanted Christian Bale to come back there, and he knew he'd finally have to see how he did the trick. And he locked him up, and so everyone thought Christian Bale murdered Hugh Jackman, and he let him take the fall for it. And then he shows up as a clone with a new name, like Count of Monte Cristo, right? And he's like, yes, I'm now going to look after your daughter. It's like, oh my gosh. Oh, you know what's really good about that, too? Remember how he insisted on keeping the wife's name, or the wife name for him, the Danton? The
Great Danton,
Great
yeah.
Danton or whatever. And he insisted on keeping the name, but then after he allows himself to die for Christian, and let Christian Bale take the fall, then he ends up adopting a new name, which is pretty sad because he's completely forgotten about his dead wife. This obsession has taken over. I just thought that was a nice little character moment where he literally, he's no longer even thinks about his wife, right? He admits it so. He's like, I don't even care about my wife. But I just think it's clever that he even adopts a new name. He no longer is interested in keeping Danton around.
He's still a redeemable character, right?
No, again, like I said, I'm on his side, and then somewhere around the run, I don't know, when he decides not to use this cloning machine to make enough top hats to make a hat business or something.
It reminded me of Batman when they bought the 10,000 wingtips or the hat tips.
Right. And my other nitpick was these scientists, I don't know, did they never leave that house and see a bunch of top hats outside on their front lawn and think, what the heck going on? I don't know. It's crazy. Hugh Jackman was the one that discovered it, and they're like, look at all these hats out here. And he's like, we have 2 cats? It's like, oh boy, something's going on. Also, nitpick, I don't understand how he how they could figure out where to teleport somebody. Is it just random? Because it was outside Tesla's house,
Science,
mansion.
Ty.
Science. And then one time he tries it in his house. He says, I had to make calibrations. And then it's literally 4 feet in front of him, and then he shoots him. And then later, it's later up in the balcony.
What if he just calibrated halfway through a wall?
Yeah. I'm dying. His foot's in the floor. Yeah, it's a fused with the floor. Yeah. So very interesting. Maybe he has to hover above the ground, so he
like a horror
drops
movie.
down. Yeah. Who knows, right? But anyway, that was all great. So
It kind of reminds me of what's it called? Synchronic. When he's teleports and imagine doing that on a second floor or if you teleported. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
teleported. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All the lines of "Are you watching closely?" was great.
Yes.
It's great. Oh, I wrote one last down. It's just are you familiar with the phrase "man's reach exceeds his grasp"? It's a lie. Man's grasp exceeds his nerve. I love Tesla. Hey, that was David Bowie. What a great performance by David Bowie.
I love it when Cutter says obsession is a young man's game.
Yeah, and he's like, "Go. I'm not going with you anymore." Yeah. It's great. And yeah, The Man in the Box, that was a good one too. Yeah, so those were the ones I wrote down. But yeah, what an amazing movie, guys. Holy crow.
Holy crow.
Holy crow.
Holy crow, man. Did I say that?
Yes.
Holy crow.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. One thing. I honestly feel like you could see Frankenstein waking up somewhere in this movie. There's so much electricity. I just thought, like, this could be, like, if they'd made a dark universe like this, like, throw Frankenstein, throw vampire, throw werewolf man. Like, it fits right in this doom and gloom. The blind men, it almost has that element of, like, you know, there should have Frankenstein's monster as a magic trick or somewhere. Like, just keep making a universe of this movie. Like, that's the gritty, the feel I want for the dark universe of all the monsters. So that's what it made me think of, you know, Frankenstein somewhere in the background. All right, so...
We get it, Ty. You want some more sadistic movies like this.
I want more sadistic... Like I said, I was surprised how dark it was on rewatch. So, guys, would you recommend The Prestige?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly like Adam said. You don't watch it with a selective crowd with full attention.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
yeah. Hey, put down your phone when you watch it. You punk.
You miss three or four scenes, and you're like, this is a very average
If you miss
movie.
3 or 4 scenes, you miss 3 or 4 twists.
Sween
you
style?
know?
Yeah.
Do you sweet?
And it will not hit the same because like that's like the ending. I don't know if I've ever experienced that quite like that in a movie. Like maybe a few times, but at the very ending, just that like eye-opening experience that's very unique to this movie. And like if you don't get that, the rest of the movie's honestly, if you're not paying attention, the movie's not good because like it just doesn't make sense. It jumps around, but like if you do, it's one of the best movies like ever. I freaking love it.
This is one of those movies where you pause it after like the first time watching with someone, and you're like, "Wait, what? This just happened?" And people are like, "Oh my gosh!" And you're like, "Pretty freaking insane."
I think
right?
I just sat there with my eyes open. I was just like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like it took me like 5 minutes to collect myself.
Yeah, just process everything you just witnessed.
wipe the tears off my face.
A giant room filled with fish tanks of dead, drowned Hugh Jackmans. Like, my goodness. And it's crazy because at the very beginning, they showed the scene where he gets locked in there and he drowns. Like, you know how this ends and you understand it. But again, it's like, once you understand, it has a completely different context. This isn't the only...
He is the Governor Ty from The Walking Dead, just staring at all those floating dead bodies.
Yeah. It has a very similar feel to that, where it's like, this giant room, it's like, get rid of it. That's crazy. Oh, and one other nitpick. I guess he ended up putting him in a glass tank. But the one he shot, where did he bury all those bodies? I guess he had a giant warehouse where he put all of them. But the first one that he shot, he never got framed for
The
anything.
scene where he's buried alive gives me so much anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Messed up, Hugh Jackman. Bad man.
Another thing Hugh Jackman did that was a little sus.
Yeah,
but,
that was a little sus.
Yeah, Ty. Oh, he's all right. He never did anything to
It's
hurt
like,
him.
it depends how fast you can dig.
yeah.
Great line.
Ty's like, good one.
I was surprised at Michael Caine's evilness in that too. He was like, "Saves me cutting you an air hole." Like I was like, "Oh, Michael Caine's getting a little fierce." with
Michael
it, too.
Caine literally locked him up. But again, I don't think he intended to bury him, but they trapped him because I guess they needed to figure out his secret or whatever. But yeah, kidnapping. Yeah, there's so many crimes. If we even tried to count the crimes, bodily harm to people, kidnapping, murder, attempted murder, and then actual murder, tampering with evidence, framing someone for murder, many crimes, guys. These are magicians. What a dark time. Like I said, people here were starved for entertainment. So, well, guys, we end every podcast by showing movies that we've seen lately and movies we're looking forward to. Adam, are there any movies you've seen lately and things that you're looking forward to seeing?
Movies I'm looking forward to, or I don't.
Adam saw The Little Things.
Yes. Oh yeah, I did. That is a movie I saw recently that was fantastic.
The Little Things?
Denzel Washington.
Yeah, it's a newer one. Like
Jared
it was
Leto.
like-
Your favorite.
yeah,
Ty?
Jared Leto, Denzel
Oh,
Washington.
Jared Leto. Oh, I need to see that.
That was
seen it
a
yet.
really unique movie. Like I watched that in theaters probably 2 months ago, and that was pretty fantastic. So
I liked it too.
that's one. As far as movies coming out, like it's hard with I don't know. There's not a ton of. I'm still waiting for the new James Bond, but I feel like we might be waiting forever for that movie. So
For sure.
Anna de Armas, baby.
I know, I love her.
I'm just dying to see it. Jared Leto. I can't wait.
Wait, Cameron, have you seen The Little Things yet?
No.
Okay.
You ask me this every other week.
Well, I did, because you made it sound like you had seen it with Adam or something.
No. Adam and Justin were telling me about it though.
I just rubbed it in his face that we saw it without him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love it. Adam, do you have a social media presence you want people to be aware of? You want people to stalk you that listen to this podcast?
I mean, if they want to, Instagram is Adam S Thomas 48, but
Adam has dope photos that he's like editor of photos and takes dope photos. So
he is an editor of photos.
Editor.
I think they call him editors. I'm kidding, Cameron. It just sounded really funny. He's the editor of photos. Introducing Adam Thomas.
Dude.
Adam, thanks for coming on the podcast, man.
yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
We loved having you. We're going to end the podcast now. Leave us a review. 5 stars, please.
check us out
If
on
you watch
Spotify
us-
and Patreon.
and Patreon. Give us some of your money. And then please.
I can tell you for money.
For money. And please, for money. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, if you're listening on YouTube, like and click the bell. You'll get notified every time a new video comes out.
Subscribe.
We do originals. We do podcast movie reviews. And if you like this, push it on your friends, people that like listening to podcasts. This is Futro Hidden Movie Gems. Leave us an email, futromovies@gmail.com, if you wanted to leave us a comment about the movies we reviewed in the past.
And tell Ty how sick he is for being on Hugh Jackman's side. Just shoot an email.
Yeah, I messed up, dude. I hit something wrong in the head. It's crazy that you guys pointed all these things out. I'm like, yeah.
Or not on Leonardo DiCaprio's side on Shutter Island, or on the side of the boy in Into the Vast of Night, or whatever it's called.
No, dark. You always say that. It comes at night.
It comes at night.
Oh, Travis. Naughty, naughty. That's not about being on his side. I just think that's how it happened.
Okay,
Ariel,
anyways,
thanks for
wrap it up.
opening that can of worms.
Yeah, that can of worms. Come fight me, Cameron. I will fight you. So I'll reach. Let's end this podcast, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Take it easy. This is Future Head Movie Gems signing out.
Peace.
Bye.
Want to see a magic trick?